Hello, friends and family. Welcome once again to another Saturday morning coffee and conversation. I am your host, Erin Mahone. I am joined once again by one of our most returning guests at this point, I think, Tara Culton, newly with some letters behind her name. Some new letters behind her name. Welcome, my friend. How are you?
I am doing amazing. I really am. Every day is a new experience. Every day is also a new challenge, but I'm doing well. So, how are you out there in your new location? Because this is the first time we've been live since you've been out in Seattle, right?
Portland.
Oregon,
Close. We're
Portland,
three and a
Portland.
half hours from Seattle, so way
Okay.
closer to Seattle than we used to be. Uh,
Seattle.
no, it's amazing. We were just talking before we went live, and other than a handful of weird heat waves, which are not normal out here. We have not really had to think about the weather at all, never
Wow.
wondering how is it humid outside or worrying that, it's just beautiful and fall out here is quite an experience. The leaves are changing. It's really lovely. So, we're
Good.
getting adjusted. Now, I will be, moving a family of five, 3,000 miles away has its fair share of challenges, and I don't want to undermine those in the least.
Right, right.
Um, but all things being equal, I think that it's been really a wonderful transition for our family. Uh, so far, the schools are just surprisingly wonderful and supportive of the
Oh, that's
children.
amazing.
Just a very different mindset. We were talking about mindset, just the
Yes,
way
yes,
that
yes.
people sort of think about things and about life, and much less focused on sort of competitiveness and, pushing children into overdrive, and much more focused on, the whole person and their quality of
Yeah,
life and
yeah.
their connection to their community, the school
Hmm.
being the community. And so, um, it's very different, but I'm very pleased so far. So thank you for asking, and we're excited for the new adventure. So
Good, 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 good.
when I sent out, you know, this this request at the beginning of 2021, I gave all of our past participants the opportunity to sign up for as many conversations as everybody wanted. And, you put your name down for a couple of times, but this one, I think, is very personal to you. And so let's talk about mental health and the church.
Okay. It really is personal to me, Erin,
Mhm,
because I grew up in the church. I'm still in the
mhm,
church. It's what we'll call, I'm a church girl. I just am. As far back as I know of, my family have been church people. And
mhm,
sometimes that's the challenge that we're church people as opposed to being kingdom of God or spiritual people, that type of thing. And for me, um, I just never had to leave the church to do my dirt, and that's whether it's trauma type things or anything else. It's really my experience that people were talking about me, but they weren't talking with me. And
mhm.
I explained to several people this week. They said, "Well, I'm going to talk to her. Don't talk to someone. Talk with them." That's
Right.
having a conversation. Talk with them so that it's not just a ongoing monologue, but you're actually having a dialogue. And oftentimes, as a black woman, historically and culturally, we do
Mhm,
not talk about, or we haven't talked about, mental illness in the church.
mhm.
We wanted to pray it away. We wanted to fast it away. We wanted to any of the other spiritual disciplines it away, but we have not really addressed it. Part of that is because we did not have the information to do that. That's what that is. The other part of that is that we didn't have access. Not only did we not have the information as the Black church, and I'm only using this, and I recognize that mental illness in the church is multicultural. It's not just a Black church thing. It's in any church. One of the things, one of the things I found out the more I am in this arena is that it doesn't matter whether you're yellow or pink polka dots. If that's your church, you are actually interacting with people who have mental illness. Now, how you interact is important. For me, as a Black woman, the culture said we just don't talk about it. We sweep it under the rug. Even with my first suicide attempt at age 17 or 18. And I really haven't had a conversation with my family. And last year, around this time, I was on, I know you probably know Tammy Mobley. She does Surviving with Tammy. I was on her radio show. And for the first time ever, I mean, Erin, I'm 60. We're talking about something that happened when I was 18. One of my sisters was on the broadcast, and she said that, yeah, she deals with the trauma of that every day. But yet,
Wow.
yes, wow. And it shocked me so bad that I had to really maintain my composure on air because we were of course on radio, but we were also live on Facebook. And I thought, it's time for us just to come together to have that healing conversation. Well, that's just is this the word I want to use? A micro look at the bigger issue in the
Yeah.
church about having that conversation.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, it's so true. It's I you know I'm working right now on writing the story around a life-threatening accident that I had when I was 16. When I was
Wow.
at a stage of my life when I was very reckless and making very, very bad decisions.
Uh-huh.
Um and I tried to car surf and I fell off the car and it ran over me and I broke my pelvis in 5 places. And it was,
Wow.
yeah. And so, and that's not a secret. I've,
Right,
told the
right,
story in
right.
my
Of
book.
course.
But one thing that I never did was really have conversations with people around me about that thing, right?
Yeah.
I talked about it from, just to some degree, small degree from my own perspective.
Uh-huh.
Really tried to underplay the impact that it has had on my life, which is significant.
Wow.
But only recently did I start actually talking to people, including my parents. We've never really had a significant conversation about the impact that it had on them. The
Yeah.
the I was in the hospital for a week after that accident. I don't
Ooh.
I don't have any memory of being in the hospital at all, Tara.
Are you
So
serious?
none, zero. So I was in the hospital for an entire week. I have no
Uh-huh.
memory of it.
Uh-huh.
And so but I never said, hey, I don't have any memory of this. What happened while I was in the hospital until 2 months ago. And my mother tells me this story about, this was what the hospital experience was. And hey, I remember that time when all of the kids from your theater department at school came to the hospital to see you and
Wow.
sang to you and gave you cards and flowers and all that stuff. I have zero memory of that.
Wow.
And and didn't think that anybody ever came to see me. I spent almost 30 years thinking that nobody visited me in the hospital and
And so,
assuming that I deserved that and all the whole thing. So what I'm saying
yes.
to you is
Yes.
that because we didn't talk about it, because they didn't talk and because I didn't ask,
Mm-mm. Right.
we had this mutual agreement. We're just not going to talk about
We're just
this.
not going to talk about this.
Right.
We're just
And
going to
so,
put it behind us. Yeah.
right. And so I developed this narrative of myself and of the world and of the people around me based on that. You and your family, you didn't know that you had impacted them, that your sister had been impacted by your suicide attempt.
Absolutely, Erin. When I say I don't consciously ever remember even considering that fact.
Right.
It's like, and it's like you said, and this is, boy, that was really good. I was like, I had a woof moment, an opening moment, an awakening moment. I would say, because when I realized that not only, and you, as you were talking about how that shaped your narrative of the world and you being in that world and how you navigated that, I realized in this moment, because I just remember the two major things I remember. I don't actually remember going into the psychiatric ward. I do remember fighting like an alley cat, that I did not want them to, I was trying to fight them. So I had to be strapped down because I had taken a whole bunch of medications and they were trying to pump my stomach with this charcoal and I was fighting. I remember that. I don't remember actually being transferred. I don't know if they gave me something or whatever. And I remember being on suicide watch. Now we're talking about, let's see, 1980, 1981. So someone was literally sitting there with me in this communal bathroom while I took a shower. No shower curtain because you couldn't have
Right.
anything, you know,
Right.
no mirrors. You're looking into these little plastic things that gives you a distorted view, and we could talk about that all day long.
Right. Right.
And I remember what was said to me as I came out. My mother came to pick me up, and it was a statement that was said that I won't repeat here, that's what I remember. I don't actually remember going home. I know that I was home. I don't remember the ride home. I don't remember anything else around that except noticing that I was being treated differently. I was being treated as though I was crazy.
Right. Mm.
And every single interaction with my family, um, oh, it was so. You really awakened me because I realized that that I not only were they interacting with me from a particular standpoint or viewpoint of life, I was interacting with them, not just my sisters, but uncles, aunts, cousins,
Right.
because we had this silent agreement. Erin, that'll preach.
I'm so glad. Well, but
Oh
it's
my gosh,
true.
that is
Like
so
that's
good.
what it is. We just
Hmm.
agree we're not going to talk about this.
Hmm.
We're going
Hmm.
to carry it with us and let it be whatever it is, in us, for us, around us, about us. And for those of us who were on the crazy end,
Yep,
and I'm using that for listeners in,
absolutely.
with the air quotes, the one who made the bad decision, or the one who's dealing with something, or the one who is not, not only does not talking about it, create this lack of ability to really learn and explore, but it also, we end up acting as if we are
Ooh.
we are broken in some way, or as if we have to now make up for the bad
Oh,
decision that we made, right? Like, so now the rest of my life is working toward earning back my worth or my value.
absolutely. And totally overcompensating. I remember
Right.
my son saying, I was in, when I had my mental health crisis and went into group therapy in 2016.
Mm-hmm.
And that wasn't the first mental health crisis. That was just the one that I had started to awaken.
Right.
I started to have my spiritual awakening. Like, wait a minute, something's no, we got to do something different here.
Right.
But I remember him coming into therapy with me and saying, "Well, my mother has always overcompensated. My mother has always been there." Because he said, "Okay, what are the two poles with that she's whatever his term was? It was very because my son is very analytical.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like, what two? If she's bipolar, what are the two poles?" And listening to him, realizing in that moment and since that time, the impact of what I did at age 18 has had on his life when he wasn't even a twinkle in my eye at age 18.
Right.
So
Right.
that, and being in the church, when I say in the church, I mean, I lived in the church. I
Right.
was part of a youth choir that we got mad when they told us to go home, Erin.
Right. Right.
We would
It
go to
was
choir. Yeah,
right.
that's what we knew. It was choir rehearsal all day on Saturday, and then on Sunday it was morning service, and then at that time churches used to fellowship with one another differently than they do now. So you may be going to another choir anniversary or program or whatever. And that's what we did. And we loved it. Actually, a couple of years ago, we had a choir reunion, and it was so good. It was so
Right.
good. But although we enjoyed it, that's all I knew.
Mhm.
And again, because I was not conscious that I had taken on this internal conversation,
Mhm.
my navigating my church world was so different. And it was so very much aware, even as of where we 2021. So 2019, we had, I don't know, was it a 30 or 40-year reunion? Whatever it was, whatever the year was, but I can look back in this moment on October 2nd, 2021, and I can look back on that choir reunion and tell you that I was still interacting from that space, which just reinforces that we've got to have this conversation in the church. How do we help people heal? Whether it's a black church, white church, pink church, yellow church with green polka dots, it doesn't matter what your faith is. In the faith communities, so I'll use that, in the
Right.
faith communities, for me, I'm like, stop telling me to fast and pray, or trying to say that I have some type of spiritual deficit. None of that is true. What I need is help and healing. And
Mhm.
that's what my journey has been about. Because when I participated in the book Inspire, the chapter was entitled Discipled in Depression.
Mhm. Mm.
Like we're disciples of Christ. You can be discipled in other things. That's just not for faith based stuff.
Right.
So the church taught me how to respond, even I would even say react to
Right.
being, air quotes for those who are listening to us, crazy.
Right. And
Because,
that now
go
becomes
ahead.
your like your the ultimate, I don't know, sin, or the thing that you have to repent for or atone for, or I have to do all of these things to make up for the fact that I am quote unquote crazy, right? And so all the overachieving, or the people pleasing, or the fixing, or the depleting of our own internal resources is in service of that one thing, which is I got to make up for the fact that I'm crazy.
I got to do it. I got to do it. And I found myself, as like a series of life events have been happening. I've had several falls, so we're trying to investigate why I am falling. Um, Osteoporosis and severe lack of bone density.
Mm,
So, as I was going through all of these things, and mind you, on my way to a physician, right after the second fall, I was in a car accident.
mm-hmm.
Do you not know that what I did was jump to that churchified, that's what I call it, that churchified mindset? Okay,
Right.
what sin have I committed? And I literally did, I physically said, wait a minute, where did this come from?
Mm-hmm.
Why is this coming up? And what I realized, it's coming up because you need to deal with this. You need to sit down and investigate and really process, are all of those pieces out?
Mm-hmm.
Are all of those pieces, when it comes to that particular, what I call the churchified mindset,
Right.
have you really, really dealt with that in a healthy manner? Because, as you say, our lives are now, okay, I've got to overcompensate. I've got to be the best. And for me, Erin, I'm stopping right there. If I didn't think I could be the best, do the best, come in first, I wouldn't even
That's right.
attempt it. I
That's
wouldn't
right.
attempt it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's rooted because my life was in the church, and
Mm-hmm.
it still is, but a totally different mindset. And
Right.
what I want to do is help the church universal. And I know, for listeners, that I understand what I'm saying. I want us, as the church universal, whatever your faith is, to
Right.
really, really gain a new mindset around mental illness, what it is and what it isn't, and how it is impacting not only the people who sit in the pews,
Mm-hmm.
but the people who are in the pulpits, or whatever, your platform might be,
Right.
because there's an exchange there that we're not talking about.
Mhm.
And because of the exchange, go jump in. Oh, this is so exciting.
Well, it's that same unspoken, or at times very much spoken, agreement that people have that, talking about the real issues is hard. And so if and for all the people and for you, which you already know this, I am not of the church. I'm
Right,
Jewish, but I
right.
also grew up with very little sort of religious, interaction and education. And what I did have was fraught and complicated and, damaging to some degree, which is a whole nother conversation, but we can get into that briefly. But ultimately, whenever you're talking about systems that protect the status quo,
Oh, come on now.
right? You're talking about an unspoken agreement that is, and this is true everywhere. This is not true just
That's
in
right.
religious institutions.
That's right.
Religious institutions are, however, just as responsible for maintaining the status quo in our society as, government institutions and education and all the different, the different things that we
Mm-hmm.
are a part of. And that
Mm-hmm.
is that, it's this unspoken rule that if I, as a as a participant in this system, show up and do what I am supposed to do, again with the air
Supposed
quotes
to
for
do.
folks, right? If I do what I'm supposed to do, then you, person in power,
Come
will
on.
affirm that I am doing what I'm supposed to do, and you will allow us to not have hard conversations about complex issues that do not get
Oh,
solved
this is
in
so good.
a vacuum, right?
Right, right, right. It,
So
yeah.
that's the thing, is that, what you just said about the person in the pulpit and the person in the
Mm-hmm,
pew,
mm-hmm.
they agree, just like you and your sister agreed,
That's
and just like
right.
me and my mother agreed. We all agreed
That's it.
this is hard and we don't know how to talk about it. So you know what? We're just going to tell one another that everything is okay.
Everything is fine. Everything is fine. Jesus will fix it.
Right.
Jesus paid it all. So whatever that is, just go on. And if for those that are listening, whether your faith is, whether you believe in Jesus or whatever your faith is,
Mhm.
you still have made some type of agreement if you're in
Right.
the space that we're talking about right now from
Mhm.
this perspective. And it is amazing to me that in 2021, year two of this worldwide pandemic, that I don't understand why people think we're not still in it, but we are. Like we are very much in it.
Very
But
much.
um, that the church universal,
Mhm.
the faith communities universal, I believe, think we're having a conversation about mental illness. I'm not so
Right.
sure that we're actually having authentic conversations. And for those that are listening, you will hear me say quite often, I could tell you my story without telling you my business.
Yes.
There's a difference.
Yes. Thank you. Well, I mean, but that is such an important difference, because I
Yes.
think that a lot of times people think, like what we're doing at the If You Could See Me project, what you do, what so
Hmm.
many people are doing is this, it's an all or nothing proposition. And we're going to get into that,
Yeah.
like if I can't tell every, you know, gross detail,
Right.
every triggering issue or
Oh my
situation that
goodness.
ever happened in my life, then then I can't do anything at all. And it's like,
Oh,
you can tell some of the story without telling all of the details. If you want to
absolutely.
tell all the details, that's your prerogative. But the
Right.
idea that it becomes this, like, it's got to be, it's this, gross oversharing, or it's, keeping it silent, that's born of shame,
Oh my
right?
gosh. Yes, it is. It is. It is. It is. It's like, okay, we can't talk about it like within my family. There are people that I totally recognize from this healthier place, because when I hear people say, well, I'm healthy, yeah, you might be in some areas. I offer to you that there's still healing to be done. not because of what I see, but because we're human.
Mhm.
Excuse me, human.
Mhm.
That's why I say that. And I can still feel, because I'm very much empathic. Did not really realize that until 2016 when I had my mental health
Right.
crisis at work. I can feel the energy coming from family members when I get around them.
Mhm.
The conversation even changes and they are not even aware of it.
Mhm.
So, what I have tried to do is say, okay, don't take offense. They don't know, and they don't know what they don't know.
Right.
Not that they are less than or not educated or any of those things. I just recognize they do not know how to interact with me. So, I'm always saying, for those that are listening and those that know me, we train people how to treat us.
Yes.
So now I'm in the process of retraining, making sure that my behavior in certain people's presence, and what I mean, I'm not one person one way and one person another way. I know in another situation, I understand that there are certain people who are still uncomfortable with me because I'm, air
Right.
quotes, crazy.
Mhm.
So when I
Right.
recognized that, I said, okay, what I have done before is that I have totally overcompensated for that. I'm going to prove to you that I'm not crazy,
Mhm.
which in turn ended up proving that there was a mental illness. You
Right.
know, I'll give
Right.
you an
Because it's
example.
a self-fulfilling
It's a
prophecy.
self-fulfilling prophecy.
Mhm.
It
Right, because
really is.
if I'm operating from the mindset that I have to prove to you that I'm not crazy, then that means I believe on some level that I'm crazy
That's right.
or that I have something to prove,
That's right.
right?
Either
Mhm.
way. And I will give you an example of something that happened to me a couple of weeks ago. I went to the ER, and the physicians that initially saw me thought I had a TIA. They thought maybe I'd had a stroke. Well, I'm coming in saying, no, it's this. It's, you really can't see it on camera, but I have a really bad bruise. And I don't know
Mm.
how I got that there. I don't know what happened. I don't know. I just don't know, because I'm driving down the road and I go to grab the steering wheel
Yeah.
with both hands, but my right hand is not cooperating with me. It's not flappy. I just can't grip, right? So I said, okay, spirit, okay, God, what should I do? He said, you're going to go into the emergency room. When
Yes,
I
that's a
get
it's a good idea. When one of your appendages doesn't work, the best thing to do is go to the hospital.
go to the hospital. And
Please do
so,
that.
you know, I was like, okay, let's don't be deep and wonderful. Let's just see what's going on. And hold on. Excuse me. Mm. And so I get there, and we're talking about trying to overcompensate.
Right.
I get there, and I recognize you have now looked at my chart within about 30, 40 minutes,
Mhm.
because you come back to me with these therapeutic questions.
Yeah.
Hold on. Excuse me. Ooh, how are you feeling today?
Mhm.
Well, I'm a little anxious, only because, not from a mental health standpoint, but because I cannot grip the steering wheel.
Right.
And then they keep going. Excuse me. And I recognize I have been othered.
Right.
The conversation is no longer about me. And my first response was to go off. But then I had to think, I said, what would you tell one of your peers that you're supporting? Don't do that, because what you're going to do is you're going to bring up the stereotype of the angry Black woman. One. Number two, you're going to bring up the mental illness. When I bring up it, it will impact what they put in that chart.
Right.
Three, if you go AMA, and for those listening, that's against medical advice, and I walk out of here, I still got a challenge. So now I'm trying to navigate all of this without overcompensating,
Right.
without proving to you that I'm not having a mental illness episode right now of any kind.
Right.
So I say that for our listeners, so that you know that this comes up throughout your life, that when you have started that way or you have had this experience, it's quite, it wouldn't be uncommon, let me say, that you will find yourself in situations. It just so happens that I was aware that I had to be careful of what I was saying, how I was saying it. Do not overcompensate, because the reality was I could have had a stroke. And I
Mm-hmm.
needed to get the information. And to get defensive would have put up a block and sent off chemicals and all that. I wouldn't have heard the information. You know, praise God, I did not have a stroke. But what I realized when the third physician was talking to me, because the first two who thought I had the stroke, Erin, guess what? They never came back to tell me that. A nurse came back and said, "We're keeping you." I was like, "You're what? For what?"
Right.
She said, "They think you have a stroke." So I said, "Don't get mad, Tara. Don't get mad. Listen to what she's saying." And this doctor came in the next morning and he's talking, but he's not talking with me. He's not even talking to me.
Right.
Okay, like I'm looking at you on the screen right now. He's over
Mm-hmm.
there looking at the television. So tell me what
Right.
happened. And I'm trying to hold it in. I'm like, okay, let me repeat the story. I'm driving 70, 80 miles down the highway and I go to grip because I wanted to keep control of the car because someone had just one of those zip, zip, zip right in front of you, right behind you type things.
Right.
Well, do you think you passed out?
Do you think you passed out?
What about me driving 70, 80 miles behind the wheel of a car did not you understand? You didn't understand any of that. And then I look at him and realize you literally are not listening to me
Mm-mm.
because you started the conversation before we got there. You started the conversation. Well, how are you feeling today? Or are you feeling depressed or whatever? So my tendency in that point was to come back because I've been in the medical field. I was a medical secretary for eons. My
Mm-hmm.
tendency, and I worked for psychologists, was to come back and show you just how much. But then that would have been overcompensating.
Mm.
That was I'm going to prove to you that I'm not.
And it's just a deep breath and a
It's a deep
constant coming
breath.
back. It's a constant practice of mindfulness. It's a constant, like,
Absolutely.
and to put that on the patient is infuriating.
Oh my God.
Uh, so, but what I think we're illustrating here, because I think that, this goes so far beyond faith communities.
It
Faith,
does. That
faith
I'm sitting here thinking that too. Go ahead.
Right. Like faith communities are obviously very specific in, the ways in which they or the responsibilities that they have toward their members and, the culture that they facilitate. But it is just the truth
Mhm.
that, you know, I'm a really big fan of the dialectic. So, for anybody who's interested or who
Mhm.
knows what it is, I'm becoming certified in dialectical behavior therapy because I think it is one of the most effective treatment interventions.
Mhm.
Um, but for a very long time have been of, this mind before I even knew what DBT was,
Uh-huh.
that that two things can be true at one time,
See.
right? Like I can be having a medical crisis
Mhm.
and have a mental health diagnosis. My mental health
Absolutely.
diagnosis does not negate the fact that I may be having a medical crisis. But you can be sure that in most settings, when I walk in, and it sounds like you too, and we've had this conversation on this podcast
We
with
have.
many people, right? Like when we walk in and somebody sees, oh, you're on these meds, or oh, you have had this experience, or oh, you have this diagnosis. Are you sure it's not anxiety?
Yeah.
Are you sure you're not having a depressive episode? Are you sure you're not, experiencing some sort of mental health situation? And,
Absolutely.
I mean, I've had that in eye doctors' offices when I couldn't see. And they're like, are you sure it's not anxiety? And I'm like, I'm pretty sure
I'm
that,
pretty sure
you
my
know,
inability to not writing.
right. I'm fairly certain.
Yep.
Um,
Yep.
I'm anxious pretty much all the time. This is new. This vision thing is new. Um, but so, the idea that, to go back to the dialectic, the idea that in a religious setting that we can't both be spiritual, religious people, good stewards of our faith, or whatever belief system you
Right.
have,
Right.
and get treatment for a mental health condition is is a very sort of challenging concept to me. Like I get angry about it, if I'm being
Mhm.
totally honest with you,
Yes.
because
Yes. Yes.
you wouldn't tell a person who was having a stroke to pray
Come on.
harder.
Ah, you would not. You would immediately go in there and do what needed to be done. And as of what is today, October 2nd? Okay, I went
Hmm.
to the hospital on September 18th. I just completed Alicia Randolph's mental health rally, the
Hmm.
Art of Me, RVA.
Hmm.
That's my son's sister, by the way. Shameless plug for her.
Oh,
So
I
that's my
didn't
other
know
child.
that. I
Yeah, yeah.
love, she is amazing. I love
Yes,
her.
she really is. She really is.
Hmm.
And she was like, Mama T, you all right? Because that's what she calls me, Mama T. And I was like, yeah, yeah, yes, I'm fine. It's just hot, and it was hot. I was under a tent, but it still was hot. I mean,
Hmm.
I'm over 60. It was hot, people. It just was.
Right.
But I bring that up because I had just come from this rally where I was speaking about mental illness and
Hmm.
how the church has my wish is that the church would have a different response
Hmm.
to what was going on. So to go into that environment and realize, and I literally just said, you can love Jesus and love therapy too,
That's right.
whatever that for whatever form
Right.
that takes for you. Like
Right.
Jesus and therapy are not total opposite. That's not
Mhm.
an oxymoron. It
No.
isn't, you
Mm-mm.
know.
No.
So to walk into that environment, and whether it's the medical, it just happens so much. And because I do have medical conditions, it happens so much. And as of this week, I think Tuesday or Wednesday, my doctor's office called to assure me because I went back to my doctor in
Right.
Richmond. And this particular hospital facility had put in my chart that I had acute kidney failure. And okay, mind you, I said, okay, there's a few problems with this. All right. You're saying that I did indeed have a TIA according to what, as soon as you open up my patient portal at this facility, you
Hmm.
see a problem list, a diagnosis list.
Hmm.
Acute kidney failure is at the top, followed by TIA on September 18th. So I got hot. I said, number one, no one ever, if this is true, I do not believe it's true, but if it is true, no one ever had that conversation with me. Turns out that my physician, whom I really, 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 really like at this point, it was not always that way, but I really, really like her and I trust her. She called me and said, well, she had her nurse call me. She's going to be calling me later to
Hmm.
say that I am really upset. She went so far as to find the actual physicians, not just the ER notes, but the actual physicians who treated me. And she wanted to know why they put that in my chart.
Hmm.
And the question was, did they do it because of the mental health diagnoses? That's why I bring that up. And I said to her, I said to the nurse, I said, you know what the challenge is that you're probably right because based on my interaction with that staff, except one nurse and one doctor, who I give kudos to, because he's the one said, I don't think you've had a TIA. What I think has happened, and I've torn my rotator cuff in my arm. So he said, I don't think it's that at all. I think because I kept saying, no, look right here. I think it has something to do here. And because of the mental illness diagnoses,
They didn't listen to you.
they didn't, the whole appointment. And I'm sitting there thinking, okay. So whether it's the faith community, whether it's the medical community, whether it's even your social community, and I'm talking about social, non-digital,
Right.
non-electronic,
Right. Like in person.
in
Right. When
person.
people undermine you and say, well, are you sure that's what happened? Or are you sure that's what you're experiencing? I'm not sure. How are you feeling? Are you taking your meds? Is
Oh,
everything okay in your life?
yeah,
Right? Like just
yeah,
undermining your experience.
totally undermining the experience. And I think that, I've just had this grandiose idea sitting here with you, as I always do when I'm with you. As we say in my faith community, you just made my baby leap. So, and what that means when Elizabeth and Mary were together, and
Mhm.
and then the baby leaped in her womb. So in Mary's womb. So it's like, okay, all right. And what that is that I wonder how we can, together with the larger community, have this larger conversation,
Mhm.
that the be mindful that when you have someone, and I'm constantly saying, be mindful of your language, be mindful of your thoughts,
Mhm.
be mindful that you are stigmatizing somebody, as I say.
Mhm.
And you may not even recognize it. I was in the presence of some wonderful people a few weeks ago, and the statement was made, yeah, that this person just whizzed out. They just went crazy. And I'm sitting there saying, oh, you're too far away from home. You're too far,
Right.
you're too, you're too far away from home to do what you want to do right now. So instead, I listen, and I
Mhm.
have developed an I statement
Mhm.
around that, so that when I speak to that person again, which will be this coming week, I
Mhm.
can have that conversation. But if we don't know to do things like that, not
Mhm.
just for those of us with, lived experience of mental illness or substance abuse or whatever it is, if
Mhm.
we don't know those things, we won't employ those things,
Right.
because we're still relying upon our faith, whatever that faith may be. And I'm speaking in generalities, so don't send us any bad letters. Um, like we're relying upon our faith to just somehow pull us through, and faith is an important part of many people's lives. It's an important part of my life.
Right.
But do I practice my faith as I was taught to practice it as a child? I do
In
not.
action, through action, faith is also about
It's
action.
action. It's,
Mhm.
the Bible says faith without works is dead. So I'm asking the church, will you work on this?
Right.
Will you employ your faith in this particular situation, knowing that in any congregation, I don't care if it's a congregation of three,
Mhm.
someone has, particularly if it's a congregation of five, we'll use those statistics, the one in
Right.
five
1 in
statistic,
5. Right.
one in
Yeah.
five,
At least one of us is
at
gonna be
least one
struggling
of
with
us.
something at some point.
Come
Right.
on, come on, sis. And
Mhm.
that's true. And the larger conversation for the faith communities would be, what are the specific steps? Because see, I've had people say, well, yeah, I've got a conference, or I held a conference. Yes, you did.
Mhm.
On that conference, I'm not saying that none of the professional speakers, the therapists, the physicians, the other clinicians that you had speak did not have any challenges in their mental health at all. What I am saying, no one addressed that. You're talking at the people,
Mhm.
and it's a power dynamic. So if
Right.
I'm sitting there, I'm like, but you're not really talking to me. You're not, you're on the stage appearing as though everything is perfect.
Right.
My desire, go ahead, jump in.
No, please.
Yeah,
Your desire.
my desire is that you have a conversation with me to find out how you can help me, and me being indicative of the larger community, because we all experience it differently. And that's the other myth that's out there, that just because I have a diagnosis, or I live with a diagnosis of depression, I'm going to behave a certain type of way.
Right.
If I have, one of my diagnoses is bipolar disorder 2.
Mhm.
And I was in a giving a mental health presentation, and a gentleman said, well, how does your manic, what do you do during your manic episodes that people know you're manic? I said, they would never know from me that I was in a manic episode, because it looks like I'm just sitting watching TV. I've got the laptop, I've got the crochet, I've got a couple of books around me. I probably have my phone somewhere near me. I said, now that looks like a normal day to some people. For people that really know me, I am in an episode. I am all over the place, but it doesn't look like that.
Right.
Society might have us believe that a manic episode, or if somebody's, she's just being bipolar. No, she isn't.
Well,
She has a
yeah,
you know what I'm
that's
saying?
a
It's like,
dangerous thing for somebody to say. We don't.
oh, yes. And I'm constantly saying, no, they are not their diagnosis. I'm not my diagnoses. You're not your diagnoses.
Mhm.
I live with this diagnosis. I don't, and
Right.
I also say, I no longer say I used to. I do not use the phrase I suffer from.
Mm-mm. I live with.
I live with,
Mhm.
because what it's teaching me every day, every
Mhm.
single day, is something new. this week as an example to tie back in the church and the mindset and all of this stuff and having the greater conversation. I mounted this rebuilding your mindset 5-day experience
Mm-hmm.
because for me, I did not want to use the word challenge and mindset in the same sentence. I just
Right.
did. I was
Mm-hmm.
like,
Language is important.
yeah, language is important.
Mm-hmm.
So, Erin, starting Tuesday, technology was not my friend.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm well versed in technology.
Mm-hmm.
So I can sort of troubleshoot most of the things that happen. Ooh. On Tuesday, it took me 3 tries to get on to do the session. On Wednesday was okay. Thursday, in the middle of the session, just the whole screen just blacked out. Yesterday, I know, I know.
For
Yesterday,
everyone who's listening, I'm like doing the, Buddha breathing.
yes, yesterday, the whole screen froze. People could still see me, but they can. And I was teaching on hemisync music. Okay, so I needed this to really work.
Right.
I finally decided. I said, you can do one of two things, T, because this is not working. So I invited the people who were there, for those that could, to come on to Zoom. I said, I'm going to share my link with you. Come on in to Zoom. And a couple of people did that, and I said, what are ways that you can rethink this? Because immediately I dropped into, that was another spot where I dropped into that churchified mindset,
Mm-hmm.
and
What
I
did I
thought,
do to
what did I
deserve
do to
this? Right.
deserve this?
Mm-hmm.
And I said, you did nothing. You cannot control what the internet service provider does. So this is what you're going to do. You're going to go on to your next meeting, because I had a call right after that. Once you finish that, you're going to give yourself a couple of minutes to breathe. You're going to come back in, and you are going to do a video into that group, because it's a private group, letting them know that you'll just do a recorded session. That's it. How does this tie into the bigger conversation? I decided to love on me and stop doing what other people sometimes do. It's like blaming you. You got to pray more. You got to fast more. You got to have 50 different what you call lights. All the things.
Mm-hmm.
Stop doing that to yourself, Tara Lynette. And that's what I did in that moment. And I remembered that God loves me as I am
That's right.
in
Mm-hmm.
this moment. This is
Mm-hmm.
what's happening. This is my experience. I do not feel really good about it. I am going to allow myself to cry, and I'm going to keep it moving.
Right.
That's
Right.
all
But
I'm
it
going to
is
do.
not, it is an unfortunate situation. It is not proof that you are not worthy of being
Come
happy
on.
or successful.
Come on.
Right.
It is not
No,
at all.
it's just a technical glitch.
It's just a technical glitch. And my thought was, and I shared this in the group, I said, what I did was take a few minutes to say, let's review this Saturday and Sunday and find out what the lesson is that you were supposed to learn from this.
Right.
What
Mm-hmm.
is the lesson that you were supposed to learn? And that's all this is, as opposed to what I have experienced in the church faith community, is that, no, you did something wrong. No,
Right.
I lived.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a
That's right.
spirit. I have a soul. I live in a body. I'm having a human experience. That is all that is happening, people. No
Right.
more, no less. And if the faith communities, um, I invite them to embrace that. I invite them to have the deeper conversations with people who are actually having experiences of mental health conditions.
Right.
It's
That
then, go ahead. Mhm.
that is the key is, that concept, nothing about us without us.
Mhm. Mhm.
Right? Like you can have a summit or a series of speakers where you make a commitment to creating a more inclusive mental health environment or more
Mhm.
inclusive any type of environment.
That's right.
But if you are not facilitating that growth on a daily basis,
Come on.
then it's just a it's for show, right? Like
All for show.
what is needed is one, asking people, like, what is your experience?
Yes.
How can we create a more welcoming environment for you? Um, but also to encourage and create you talk about what can we do, what can be done,
Mm-hmm,
right? Like
mm-hmm,
bringing
mm-hmm,
speakers in is great, but
mm-hmm.
what if you created a group that talked about, we're going to make a commitment to, call people in when they make
Yes,
insensitive statements. Oh, friend, you just said that somebody went crazy. Like that's the kind of language that we're trying to avoid in our community, and it can't always come from the person with the diagnosis.
that's right. That's right.
Right? That we have to have allies in this argument. And this is true, this is true in advocacy, in diversity, equity, inclusion work, regardless.
That's it. You're
We have
absolutely
to
right.
have upstanders. We have to
That's
have
right.
people who are maybe not or likely not impacted by the direct,
Right.
othering, by
That's it.
the othering. Stand up and say, you know what? It's also important to me that we have an environment that is inclusive of all people's experiences. And so
That's
whether
it.
we're talking about mental health, we're talking about disability inclusion, we're talking about, racial equity, we're talking about, religious inclusion, in all of these, gender and sexuality, all of these different sort of intersectional identities come
Yes.
with, the expectation that there be people who do not possess those intersections, who do not live those
Uh-huh.
experiences,
Uh-huh.
speak up and
That's it.
say, it's important to me as a member of this community that my friend, my sister, my cousin, my, person I've never met before who I
That's right.
want, whose experience I value,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
be honored. And when we use that language dismissively and without thinking, and
Oh
when we
my
use that
gosh.
language, we alienate those people. And if we are what we say we are,
Mm-hmm.
then we should work to not alienate people.
I totally agree. You said it best. You said it best. I said to my therapist, whom of course I think I have, besides you, I think I have the best therapist in the world. So I really do. I really, really do. But I say to her quite often, because we don't have the same faith. She does not look like me. She doesn't
Right.
have a lifestyle that I have.
Mm-hmm.
However, what I said to her, I said, your gifts and callings don't have anything to do with what you do, how you live your life at all, or what you look like. That's my personal belief.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not concerned about that. Also don't believe that there are random coincidences. There's a
Mm-hmm.
reason that we're together. There's a reason. I said in my community, we said we're all made in the image of God. Well, if God is love and he wants us to love one another, my thought is this: why are we not doing that?
Mm-hmm.
I love you
Right.
regardless. I was
Mm-hmm.
in a training for ECPR. Oh my gosh, just quick, I know our time is winding up. Um, if anybody could ever be in a training with Dan Fisher, the co-creator of ECPR, all of my trainings have been with Dan Fisher. Oh,
We
I
love
am.
Dan Fisher. All right,
Yes.
we're gonna have to check out Dan Fisher.
Oh my gosh, yes. He is the creator of ECPR, which is emotional CPR, for the emotions. C is the connecting. P is for empowering, and then reconnecting or resonating. So, in that, a statement was said by someone. And so I sat there quietly. There were two people of color, and excuse me, there were two Black women. Let me be very specific
Mm-hmm.
in this training. And Dan is very sensitive to everything. And so what I said was, in response to the statement that was made, and I won't repeat it here, I said, my reality is my family looks like a rainbow.
Mm-hmm.
My paternal family looks like a rainbow. I have Native Americans on my mother's side of the family, and when you look at my grandmother, my mother's mother, you can clearly see. Well, she's no longer with us. With pictures of her, you can clearly see that influence. So
Mm-hmm.
I said, if you look at my great grandmother on my paternal great grandmother, one of them, you could clearly see that she's Caucasian, or she has Caucasian in her blood. You go farther back, it's just a rainbow in my
Mm-hmm.
family. And what I said was that I'm beginning to totally understand and know that there really is one race. It's called the human race. We have different ethnicities. I don't look like you. So when you say, I don't see your color, that means you don't see me.
Right.
I do see you. I want to respect your experience. I want to honor your experience. I also want you to know, you being whomever you are, that I believe we really are connected. That's just not a saying for me. I may not like some of the things that have happened. I may not understand any of those things. But my feeling is that we are all connected. And if we're all connected, then that means what happens to me is also happening to you on some
Mm.
level.
Right.
You
No,
may not,
that that's true.
you know,
It
yeah, you may not have my diagnoses, but as a member of my community, whether it's the black community, the white community, the pink community, the yellow polka dot community, the faith community, the medical community, my desire for you, my wish for you, almost a hunger for you, is that you learn to understand that we are all connected. And that experience is a shared experience in life. I'm not isolated over here if I'm a part of your community.
Mhm.
It
Right.
oh, I can keep going, but I'm looking at the time, so go ahead.
No, but I mean, that's the key to all of it, I think. And that's how we quote unquote create change is,
Hmm.
one by a commitment to, to do the hard work, right?
Hmm.
Like
Hmm.
the top thing is that we can't just say we want change. We have to be committed to being scared sometimes and to
Absolutely.
not knowing what to do sometimes and to apologizing when we screw up, which we inevitably will because we're humans. And that is not, that goes back to, your analysis of your technology issues the other day,
Hmm.
that somehow if we either make a mistake or something happens to impede whatever our goal is, that somehow we've done something wrong, and we have to, and so then we get in this argument with ourselves and with the
Yes.
world that says, well, I tried, but it was hard. So that was a sign that I wasn't supposed to be doing that. Right.
Right, right, right.
I needed to go because if I was supposed to walk that path,
Hmm.
all the brambles would have
Come
magically,
on.
moved aside and the sun would have shone directly on me the whole
The
time
whole time.
so that and so, this work is hard. The work of changing the narrative that we
Oh my
have
God.
inside of ourselves is the
Hmm.
hardest work,
It
right?
is.
Because that's the thing that says I deserve to be included in this community, no matter what my needs are,
That's
no
right.
matter if I'm having a bad day, no matter if I
Absolutely.
have to take meds, no matter if I have to see a therapist, no matter, whatever it is, no matter if I, made really, really bad, reckless decisions that nearly got me killed, no matter if I tried to take my life at one point, no matter,
Hmm.
whatever the experience is, I deserve to be welcomed and to feel welcomed in this community.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well said. Absolutely.
I love and adore you. I admire you so
Oh,
immensely. Your work is so important.
thank you.
You carry this mantle
Mm,
so magnificently.
thank you,
Um,
Erin.
and I just am honored to share space with you always.
Oh, and the same goes for you. People that know me, they know. Even my pastor talks about you, and she's like, "Yes." I mean, if I just say Erin, I don't have to say Peyton or Mahone. I don't have to do any of that. They know. They're like, "Yes, yes." And Mildred, I have a friend, Mildred White, who has now she has become a frequent guest when it's now in the virtual space, and we were
Right.
talking about that on September 18th. And she
Amazing.
just loves you too. So
Oh,
people, I because I think it's so brave of you. If people would take time to read the book, if they would just really understand. And I know we have This Is My Brave, and of course we have Art of Me. um but the uh, it's a word I want to pull. I can't pull it right now. Is it poignancy of the title, If You Could See Me?
Right. Hmm.
Oh my God. And I tell people, I said, that's exactly what it is. If you could see me, you would
Hmm.
see whatever, 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 whatever. So I am honored to be in your circle, my friend. And
No.
I know, because I don't believe in coincidences, that they're all of the things that we've experienced and your guidance, not only with this project, but just emulating you. It because I don't know. I'm probably gonna cry. Thank God I don't have on false eyelashes today. Um, thank God, because I haven't learned how to really use those well, so they will probably fall off. But
I
I
never
do love
learned
you.
to use them well, so
Oh,
sorry.
my best ones are magnetic ones. I said, I don't
Oh
know
yeah.
what y'all do with that glue thing. That doesn't work for me. So the magnetic ones, you put a strip of eyeliner and it just magnetically adheres, doesn't come off.
Ooh, I'm
But
just not even that brave.
I know. But I do honor you, Erin. I do. I honor you for your bravery. I honor you for creating the spaces, not just the If You Could See Me project, but the Restore, all of the spaces that you live in and navigate through to help those of us with lived experiences, whatever those experiences might be able to share our story in ways that are healthy for us.
Hmm.
I admire that. I admire your tenacity. I mean, I was just blown away. Yeah, I'm crying. Okay. All right then. Um, your tenacity to even keep this up. You move across country, literally. We're not even talking about halfway. You are
No,
literally
all the way.
all the way across the
If
country.
Tara, if I do something, I do it all the
Oh
way.
yeah, you did. Yeah,
I
you
am
did.
nothing if not extreme in every aspect of my being.
And so I thought she's doing that and she's still showing up. You never skipped a beat. Not from a place of perfectionism or having to prove your worth, but from a place of love. That's what I believe. And that's what I know to be true. I don't just believe that. I know that to be true from being in your presence. And my brother with whom I live, if he is still talking about you from 2019 when he came with me to the show,
Hmm.
that's big. For those people that know me, they know that that's a big thing. He was like, "Yeah, that lady that did the show that you were on," and I just sit back and listen. And I'm big. So that's how your work is not. It's for all of mankind,
Hmm.
and your commitment to it is extraordinary. So you, my friend, my sister,
Oh,
I honor you for that. I honor you in this space of the podcast, but I also honor you in all the other spaces that you choose to keep forging ahead. You're choosing to pioneer work. That is different. That is different. It has your unique voice, if you will. It has your unique stamp on it. And I honor that, Erin. I really
gosh.
do. I really
I
do.
love you, and I definitely don't feel that I deserve all of that, but I will accept it and
Yes,
know
please.
that it comes from the most genuine place. And
It
I just
does.
am this project for me, labor of love.
Mm-hmm.
It is my fourth child. It is,
Mm.
uh it is my heart's work. And
Mm-hmm.
it continues to evolve as I evolve. It continues
Mm-hmm.
to evolve as the world evolves.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, I There are definitely times when I'm tired, speaking to, the
Mm-hmm.
move and the life changes and the pandemic and
Yeah.
the things that happened in the midst of the pandemic that
Mm-hmm.
have altered this project, which
Mm-hmm.
has
Yeah.
happened. Um, 2020 was a huge year for us, was supposed to be a huge year for us. We had a complete, 7 shows on the books. We were doing
Yeah.
every other month. We were, producing them in a space and having guests and doing, the live podcast thing. And we had, merchandise and
Yes.
I had created this framework around this project that it was going to look a very specific way. and then the world ended. And,
Mm-hmm.
so it has been a process of trying to reimagine what it can look like now in a virtual space,
Mm-hmm.
because I
Mm-hmm.
don't know when we're going to be able to get back to regular
Right.
live events consistently.
Right.
And how do we continue the message? And the participants
Mm-hmm.
and the connections that we have forged
Mm-hmm.
and the change that I have seen happen in this space and in these rooms and within the, and within the community
Mm-hmm.
is the thing that fuels me when I'm tired or when I don't know
Oh,
where we
wow.
go
Yeah.
next or where
Mm-hmm.
we, how to evolve in a new world. Right.
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
just say, well, I can't let them down. They've entrusted me with their stories and their vulnerability and their heart and um, the telling of these stories and the creating of this space is the most important thing. And so we'll figure it out. And it may not look perfect. It hasn't looked perfect over the last 18 months. It hasn't.
Mm-hmm.
It's been what it could be, but I never didn't show up with in my heart the same motivation to create a world that is
Absolutely.
safe for all of our stories.
Absolutely. And I thank you for that.
Thank you so much. Thank you for
You're
saying all that
welcome.
because I needed to say that part out loud. I don't think I say it actually. I don't think I've ever said it on the podcast.
Wow.
How
Okay.
hard this last 18 months has been and all the changes that we have
Yeah.
kind of moved through. So I love you.
I love you.
You make me better, my friend.
Oh, and you make me so much better when I think of days that I was like, you're not going to do this. Or when somebody writes, okay, when are we having another birthday party? Because I had the Talks with T quote unquote birthday party. I was like, you
Right.
don't have birthday once a year. So,
All right. How many times do you
so
want me to
yeah,
do
I was
this?
like,
Give me
okay,
a break.
okay. Right. Like, so my encouragement from you is when I stop to think about that, like they are asking you for a space.
Right. They need they
They
need what
need
you're providing.
they need what you're
Right.
providing. So
Right.
I was like, okay, if Erin can get up and move across the country and keep this going, surely you could figure out how to bring back Talks with T online some kind of way.
Right.
So I thank you for that, my friend. I
Of
thank you.
course, absolutely. And let's just always remember that, and this I will end with this because we are over time,
Yes.
which is not uncommon. It doesn't have to be perfect. It
That's
can't
right.
always be perfect, but we can show up anyway. And we
That's
are
right.
worthy of showing up, you know, with no makeup on, as
That's it.
currently do not have. And it's I've
I
log
slapped on eyebrows.
right, exactly. So we can show up however we show up as long as we
Mhm.
keep showing up. So
That's right.
everybody
Thank
just keep
you.
showing up. I love you. I'll see y'all next week. Tara, thank you.
You're welcome.
Mwah.